The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. It was a collection of powerful alien species that governed trade, war, and peace across the stars. They had seen many new civilizations rise and fall, and they always made sure to keep control. When a new species developed space travel, the Council would invite them, test their strength, and either absorb them or make sure they never became a threat. Now, it was humanity's turn. For years, the Council had been aware of Earth. They had watched as humans built ships and spread across nearby stars. The Council did not consider them important. Humans used outdated technology, crude metal ships, and weapons that seemed ancient. Compared to the sleek energy-based ships of the Council, human vessels looked like flying bricks. Still, rules were rules. A species that reached a certain level had to be contacted. The Council sent an official message, inviting humanity to join their great interstellar civilization. It was meant to be an honor. The Council expected the humans to be eager, maybe even desperate, to join. Instead, the humans took their time. For months, the Council waited for a response. When it finally came, it was brief. Humanity had accepted the invitation, but they were sending a small delegation. No grand fleet, no formal ceremony, just a handful of ships carrying representatives. This was unusual, but the Council assumed humans were being humble. Then the human ships arrived. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was a massive station floating in deep space. It was a place of diplomacy, filled with towering structures and glowing energy fields. Dozens of alien species gathered, waiting to witness humanity's first steps into galactic politics. The human fleet appeared outside the station, and immediately, whispers spread through the gathered species. The ships were ugly, huge, armored, covered in thick plating. There were no elegant curves, no glowing shields, just slabs of reinforced metal, covered in visible turrets and missile bays. They looked more like war machines than diplomatic vessels. The Council members exchanged uneasy glances. This was not what they expected. The human ships docked, and the delegation stepped onto the station. Unlike many species, humans did not wear elaborate robes or ceremonial armor. They walked in simple uniforms, looking around with casual curiosity. Some of them even whispered and chuckled to each other. The High Speaker of the Council, an old and wise leader, stepped forward to greet them. His species had ruled for centuries, guiding younger civilizations with wisdom and patience. He raised his voice, making sure all could hear. "Welcome, travelers from Earth," he said, his words echoing through the hall. "Today, you take your place among the stars. The Galactic Council offers you guidance, protection, and the chance to become part of something greater." The humans exchanged glances. Then one of them, an older man with graying hair, stepped forward. His face was calm, but there was a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Protection?" he asked. "From what?" The High Speaker straightened. "The galaxy is dangerous. Many threats exist beyond your knowledge. Pirates, warlords, rogue AI. Without the Council's shield, your people may suffer." There was a pause. Then, to the shock of everyone present, the humans laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a nervous giggle, real, open laughter. Some of them even shook their heads, as if they had just heard the most ridiculous thing in the world. The High Speaker's expression darkened. Around the hall, other alien leaders looked confused and offended. No species had ever reacted this way. Normally, they showed gratitude, maybe even fear. But humans, they were amused. The older human wiped a tear from his eye. "Sorry," he said, still smiling. "It's just, you think we need your protection. That's cute." Silence filled the hall. The Council leaders were stunned. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The High Speaker's voice was cold. "You mock the Council's generosity." The human shrugged. "No offense, but we've seen your ships. We've heard your warnings. And honestly, we're not impressed." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some Council members bristled in anger. Others, especially the more warlike species, looked at the humans with new interest. This was different. This was new. The High Speaker forced himself to remain calm. "Perhaps you do not understand the power of the Council," he said carefully. "Perhaps a demonstration is needed." The human's grin widened. "Now that sounds interesting." And with that, the meeting took a very different turn. The council chamber was silent. The humans had just laughed in the face of the most powerful organization in the galaxy. No species had ever done this before. The High Speaker, still calm but clearly irritated, glanced at his advisors. Many of them were fuming. Some looked confused, as if they couldn't believe what had just happened. One council member, a tall, thin creature with shimmering blue skin, leaned forward. "Perhaps we should discuss technology," he said. His voice was smooth, but there was a sharp edge to it. "Humans, your ships are unusual. You do not use energy shields. You do not have advanced plasma cannons. Your engines look primitive." Another alien, a large, reptilian being, snorted. "Your ships look like cargo haulers, not warships." The human delegation remained calm. The older man, who had spoken earlier, folded his arms. "And yet, here we are, flying across the galaxy, just like you." The blue-skinned alien smiled in a way that was not friendly. "Yes, but at what cost? Your ships burn fuel inefficiently. Your weapons use physical ammunition, which can run out. Your armor is thick, but brute force is not the way of advanced civilizations." Another alien, a small insect-like creature, clicked its mandibles. "Your kind is primitive. You rely on old methods, outdated ideas. You are centuries behind us." The humans exchanged glances. One of them, a younger woman, chuckled. "You sure about that?" The High Speaker raised a hand, silencing the room. "Words mean little. We offer you a test, humans. A demonstration of our power." The older human tilted his head. "A test." The High Speaker nodded. "A simple combat exercise. One of your ships will face one of ours. No destruction, just a match to see who has the superior technology." The human smiled. "Now that sounds fun." The test begins. Hours later, the test was prepared. The council had chosen one of their finest warships, a sleek silver vessel with powerful energy shields and advanced plasma cannons. It was fast, precise, and considered one of the most efficient warships in the galaxy. The human ship, on the other hand, was a bulky, heavily armored cruiser. It looked like a giant block of metal with massive guns sticking out of it. There were no elegant curves, no glowing shields, just thick armor and weapons that looked old-fashioned. The battle would be watched from the Grand Hall's viewing screens. High-ranking council members, military officials, and diplomats gathered to witness the event. Some were curious. Most were certain of the outcome. "This will be quick," the blue-skinned alien whispered to another council member. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, begin. The council ship moved first. It was fast, dodging and weaving through space like a dancer. It fired a barrage of plasma shots, each one glowing bright blue as it streaked toward the human cruiser. Then something strange happened. The human ship didn't dodge. Instead, it let the plasma shots hit its hull. The energy flared against the metal, but the thick armor absorbed the attack like it was nothing. The council members gasped. Plasma weapons were supposed to burn through enemy ships. They had been used for centuries with great success, but the human ship barely had a scratch. The human cruiser fired back. A deep thud echoed through the speakers as it launched a railgun shot. The metal projectile moved so fast it was almost invisible. Then, in the blink of an eye, the council warship shook violently. A massive dent appeared on its side. Its shields flickered, struggling to stay active. The council members froze. That wasn't supposed to happen. The human cruiser fired again. Boom. This time, the council ship's shields collapsed. The next shot tore straight through the hull, ripping a hole in its side. Alarms blared. The council crew inside scrambled to regain control. In the viewing hall, the aliens were in shock. This was impossible. No species had ever broken their shields so easily. No species had ever stood still and taken plasma fire without consequence. The older human in the viewing hall smirked. "What's the matter? Thought you were advanced." The high speaker clenched his jaw. For the first time in centuries, the council realized they had underestimated a new species. And it was a mistake they would never forget. The silence in the grand hall was heavy. The council warship had lost. Not just lost, it had been humiliated. The so-called primitive human cruiser had taken its best shots without flinching and then torn through its defenses like they were made of paper. High-ranking council members, military leaders, and diplomats all stared at the screen in disbelief. Some of them blinked rapidly, as if trying to process what they had just seen. Others whispered to each other in shock. The high speaker's face remained still, but his fingers tightened into fists. Then, suddenly, a sound broke the silence. Laughter. The humans were laughing again. The older human delegate shook his head with a grin. "I thought this was supposed to be a demonstration of your power." One of the younger humans smirked. "Yeah. What happened? Was that your best ship?" The council members bristled. The blue-skinned alien, who had earlier mocked human technology, stood up in outrage. "This was not a fair test. Your ship is built like a war fortress. Ours relies on advanced shield technology. Of course, if we knew you were using brute force, we would have prepared differently." The older human raised an eyebrow. "So, you're saying you weren't ready for a fight, despite being part of the Galactic Council?" More laughter. This time, a few of the other alien races, especially the warlike species, smirked in amusement. They had never seen the high speaker's faction be embarrassed like this. The large reptilian alien growled. How did you break through our shields so easily?" The human shrugged. "Simple. Your shields are made to block energy weapons, plasma, lasers, ion cannons. But we don't use those. We use kinetic weapons, railguns, mass drivers, big chunks of metal moving really, really fast." The blue-skinned alien sneered. "That's barbaric." The younger human grinned. "No, that's physics." A few murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species understood. Some didn't. The high speaker finally raised his hand for silence. "This does not change anything," he said firmly. "Technology is only one factor. The Galactic Council exists to unite species. Your tactics may be effective, but they are reckless, uncivilized. If you wish to join us, you must follow our ways." The older human leaned forward slightly. "And what exactly are your ways?" The high speaker stood tall. "We maintain order. We have strict rules for war. We solve conflicts with diplomacy first and battle as a last resort." The humans exchanged glances. Then the older one sighed. "See, that's where we're different. We like diplomacy, but we don't pretend war doesn't exist. You think strength is dangerous. We think strength prevents danger." The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles. "Your methods are violent, uncontrolled." The older human shook his head. "No, we control our violence, and that's why we win." The high speaker exhaled slowly. "Perhaps you do not understand the consequences of your actions. Many in this chamber see your kind as a threat now." The human chuckled. "We get that a lot." The grand hall fell into chaos. Some council members called for restrictions on humanity. Others, especially the more militaristic species, seemed intrigued. The blue-skinned alien slammed his hands on the table. "This is unacceptable. If humanity will not submit to council laws, they should be forced to comply." The older human's smile faded. His voice dropped to a low, almost dangerous tone. "You really don't want to try that?" For a moment, there was a tense silence. The high speaker studied the human's expression carefully. Then, after a long pause, he sighed. "This meeting is over," he declared. We will discuss this matter further. The humans nodded, stood up, and casually walked out. As they left, one of the younger humans whispered to another, "I don't think they liked our ships." The other grinned. "Yeah, maybe next time. We should bring the big ones." More quiet laughter. The high speaker watched them go, his expression unreadable. Humanity had just changed the game, and the council didn't know what to do about it. The council chamber was alive with debate. The human delegation had left, but the conversation about humanity's power continued. Some council members were furious, others were intrigued. Some feared what would happen next. The high speaker had returned to his quarters to think. He stood before a large window, staring out into the cold emptiness of space. The humans had made a mockery of the council's authority, and he didn't know how to respond. At first, the idea of testing humanity's military strength had seemed like a good idea. The council had plenty of advanced ships, and they were confident that no one could stand up to them. But now, after seeing how easily the humans had torn through their defenses, it was clear the situation was much more complicated. His thoughts were interrupted by a communication from the War Council. The blue-skinned alien was speaking. The high speaker, it began, "We must do something. If we don't act, humanity will think they can walk all over us. We must show them who is in charge." The high speaker's eyes narrowed. "And what do you suggest?" The blue-skinned alien smiled, a cruel glint in his eyes. "A real demonstration. We'll send one of our finest warships to engage the humans. This time, we'll give them no chance to survive." The high speaker sighed, his mind racing. He knew the blue-skinned alien's suggestion was dangerous, but there was something else gnawing at him. The humans weren't like any other species he had encountered. They were brash, yes, but there was also a kind of confidence in them, something the council hadn't seen in centuries. Still, he had a duty to protect the galaxy, and the council could not afford to let a wild card like humanity run free. "We will do it your way," he finally said, "but this must end quickly. We cannot let them think they have won." The encounter. Hours later, the plan was set in motion. A massive warship, larger and more advanced than the one that had been defeated earlier, left the council fleet and made its way to the human colony where the cruiser had come from. The ship was armed with plasma cannons, antimatter missiles, and energy shields that could withstand almost any attack. It was the best the council had to offer. The humans, however, had their own plans. The same human cruiser that had destroyed the previous council ship was now leading a small group of vessels toward the enemy warship. There were no fancy tactics, no complex strategies, just a direct approach. The human captain, a woman named Rachel, had seen enough of the council's arrogance. She was ready to show them just what humanity was capable of. The council ship spotted the humans and immediately moved into attack position. It fired its plasma weapons first, lighting up the void of space with bright blue blasts. But Rachel wasn't worried. "Brace for impact," she ordered. "Let's show them what we're made of." The human ship took the full brunt of the plasma fire. The shields flickered briefly, then held. The armor absorbed the energy, but the ship didn't slow down. Instead, it pushed forward, closing the distance with the council warship. "Target their engine bay," Rachel said calmly. "Full power to the main guns." The human ship fired its railguns. The massive metal projectiles shot through space faster than the eye could see, slamming into the council warship's hull with bone-shattering force. The first shot punctured the outer layer of the ship's armor, sending sparks flying. The second hit cracked a large section of the warship's power core, causing a bright explosion that sent shockwaves through the fleet. On the bridge of the council warship, the crew was scrambling. "Shields failing. We can't stop them," one officer yelled. "We need reinforcements," another cried. But it was too late. The humans had already claimed victory. The council ship's systems were failing fast. Rachel's voice came over the comms. "I suggest you retreat before this gets worse. I'd hate to see you lose more ships." The Council warship turned and fled. There was no honor in this fight. The humans had won, and there was nothing the Council could do to stop them. The aftermath. The High Speaker watched the battle unfold from the safety of his station. His heart sank as he saw the defeat of his flagship. The humans had done it again. He turned to his advisors, who were also in shock. "What do we do now?" one of them asked. The High Speaker stood silently for a moment. Then he looked at the others. "We have underestimated humanity. This will not be the last time we see them. But we must prepare. We must," the blue-skinned alien said, "or they will conquer us all." The High Speaker nodded slowly. The galaxy had changed, and humanity was no longer just a small threat. They were a force to be reckoned with. The High Speaker sat in his private chambers, staring out into space. The defeat of the Council's flagship still haunted him. The humans had proven themselves stronger, more dangerous than he could have imagined. And now, he had to decide what to do next. He paced slowly, his thoughts swirling. The blue-skinned alien had been insistent. "We cannot let humanity continue like this. If we do, they will challenge the entire Council." But there was something else. The humans weren't just strong. They were clever. The way they used kinetic weapons instead of energy weapons had caught the Council off guard. The High Speaker knew they had to rethink their entire approach. "Send the fleet," he finally ordered. "We strike them now, before they grow too powerful." The blue-skinned alien nodded eagerly. "It will be done, High Speaker." The Council's war fleet, one of the largest ever assembled, began its journey toward the human colony where the attack had taken place. It was a massive force. Sleek ships armed with plasma cannons, energy shields, and advanced tracking systems. This time, there would be no mistakes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans had learned of the Council's plans. Rachel, the captain of the human cruiser, sat in the command center of her ship, reading the reports. The Council was coming. This time, they wouldn't hold back. "They think they can intimidate us again," Rachel said, her voice calm but filled with determination. One of her officers, a young man named Mark, looked at her nervously. "They have a fleet. We don't." Rachel smiled slightly. "We don't need a fleet. We have something better." Mark frowned. "What do you mean?" Rachel stood up and walked toward the viewport, gazing out into space. "We've underestimated the Council, too. We've learned a lot from the last two encounters. This time, we'll fight smarter, not harder." Mark's eyes widened. "You've got a plan, don't you?" Rachel turned to face him. "Yes, I do." The human counterattack. The Council fleet arrived just outside Earth's orbit, a massive armada of warships, ready to strike. The High Speaker watched from his command center as the ships moved into position. His eyes glowed with confidence. "We will wipe them out, show them their place in the galaxy." But as the fleet moved into position, something strange happened. The human ships, which had been scattered across space, suddenly began to form up into tight formations. Rachel's plan had begun. "Ready all weapons," she ordered. "Prepare for engagement." The humans had spread their ships out in small mobile groups, each designed for maximum efficiency. They wouldn't try to stand up to the Council's fleet head-on. Instead, they would use the environment to their advantage, hiding behind asteroids and using the vastness of space as a weapon. "We don't need to be bigger than them," Rachel said, her voice steady. "We just need to be faster and smarter." The battle began. The Council ships moved in, firing their plasma weapons at the human ships hiding behind the asteroids. But the humans were quick. They dodged and weaved, using their smaller, more agile ships to avoid most of the shots. Rachel's orders came in rapid succession, directing her fleet to hit the Council ships at their weakest points, where their shields were thinnest or where the ships had sustained damage. At first, the Council didn't know what hit them. Small, rapid bursts of fire from human railguns pierced through their shields. The once unstoppable warships were now vulnerable. "This isn't possible," the blue-skinned alien shouted from his ship. How are they doing this? The High Speaker stood silently, his eyes narrowed. They are using their environment. They are fighting with more than just technology. Rachel's fleet continued to hit and run, keeping the Council ships off balance. They knew they couldn't win in a direct fight, but with quick strikes, they could weaken the enemy bit by bit. The battle raged for hours, and slowly the Council fleet began to lose control. Some ships were damaged beyond repair, while others were forced to retreat. The humans had shown them that strength alone was not enough to win a war. It was intelligence, strategy, and the will to adapt that mattered. The High Speaker's dilemma. The High Speaker watched in disbelief as his fleet faltered. His ships were retreating. It was humiliating. He turned to his advisors. This cannot continue. We cannot lose to them. One of the advisors, a quiet, older being, spoke up. Perhaps this is a sign. Humanity is different. They have a strength that we have not seen before. The High Speaker growled. They are an unknown force, and unknown forces are dangerous. He stood, his face stern. Prepare for a full retreat. We will regroup and rethink our strategy. But the truth was clear. Humanity had proven itself, not just as a threat, but as a force capable of standing toe-to-toe with the mightiest empire in the galaxy. And the Council, for the first time in centuries, didn't know how to handle it. After the retreat, the Council was in turmoil. The High Speaker paced back and forth in his chambers, his mind consumed with thoughts of humanity's unexpected power. His advisors stood quietly nearby, waiting for his command. We must act quickly, the High Speaker finally said, breaking the silence. Humanity cannot be allowed to continue their rise. We have already underestimated them twice. One of the advisors, a quiet, older alien, stepped forward. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our approach. We cannot simply keep fighting them. They are not like the other species we have conquered. The High Speaker turned to face the advisor. What do you suggest, then? The advisor hesitated. Perhaps it's time we learn from them. The High Speaker's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? They fight differently. They think differently. They are not driven by sheer power alone. There is a deeper strength in them. The blue-skinned alien, still fuming from the last defeat, snapped. What are you suggesting? We join them. The advisor shook his head. No, but we must understand why they are so strong and how they do what they do. The High Speaker was silent for a long moment. The idea of learning from humanity, of changing their way of thinking, felt wrong. But deep down, he knew the advisor was right. Humanity wasn't just strong. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. We will study them, the High Speaker said finally. We will understand their true nature. And if we cannot defeat them by force, we will find another way. Rachel's decision. Back on Earth, Rachel sat in her ship's command center, staring at the holographic display. The battle with the Council was over, but she knew it wasn't truly finished. The Council would come again. They wouldn't rest until they had defeated humanity once and for all. We won the fight, but the war is far from over, Rachel said aloud, almost to herself. Mark, the young officer, looked at her with concern. What do we do now? We can't keep fighting like this. We don't have the resources they have. Rachel nodded, understanding his worry. I know, but we can't back down either. If we do, they'll just keep coming. She paused, thinking. The truth is, humanity has never been about being the biggest or the strongest. We've always had to fight for what's ours. And that's what makes us different. That's what makes us stronger than them. Mark raised an eyebrow. What are you saying? Rachel looked at him, a fire in her eyes. We're going to show the Council just who we are. But this time, we're going to do it on our terms. She turned to the tactical officer. Prepare the fleet. We're going on the offensive. The Council's next move. The High Speaker received word that the humans were preparing for another battle. His heart sank. They had been studying humanity for weeks, trying to understand what made them so strong. But so far, they hadn't found a solution. "We've underestimated them at every turn," the High Speaker muttered. "And now they're coming for us." The blue-skinned alien smirked. "It's only a matter of time before we crush them. They cannot keep up with us." The High Speaker wasn't so sure. He had learned a lot from their encounters with the humans, and one thing was clear: humanity was different. They weren't like the other species. They didn't fight for dominance or glory. They fought for survival. They fought to win. "We cannot underestimate them again," the High Speaker said, his voice low. "This time, we will not make the same mistakes." The human response. Rachel's fleet moved through space, prepared for the coming conflict. The humans weren't afraid anymore. They had proven themselves once, and they knew they could do it again. "We're not just defending Earth," Rachel said to her crew. "We're defending our way of life. We're showing the galaxy what humanity is made of." As the two fleets closed in on each other, the tension was palpable. The High Speaker's warships were vast, powerful, and deadly. But Rachel's ships were fast, unpredictable, and filled with a kind of confidence that no other species had shown before. "This is it," Rachel said. "Stay sharp. This is the fight that will define humanity's place in the galaxy." The battle began. The Council's ships fired their powerful plasma weapons, but the humans dodged, weaving through the explosions with incredible agility. Then, in perfect coordination, the human fleet launched a series of precise strikes, hitting the Council ships at their weakest points. The High Speaker watched the battle unfold, his expression grim. Humanity was winning again. A turning point. The tide of battle began to turn. The Council's fleet, once unbeatable, was now retreating. Humanity had proven, once and for all, that they could stand toe-to-toe with the mightiest force in the galaxy. The High Speaker watched as his ships fell back. This was no longer a war of power. It was a war of survival. For the first time, he realized that humanity was not just a threat. They were a force that could change the future of the galaxy. The High Speaker sat on his throne, staring out into the endless void of space. His fleet had retreated once again, and the humans had proven themselves victorious. Again, he had never felt so unsure of himself, and it weighed heavily on him. He turned to his advisors. The room was filled with silence, the air thick with tension. "We cannot let this continue," the High Speaker said, his voice filled with frustration. "We've tried everything, and yet they keep defeating us. It's as if they are unstoppable." The blue-skinned alien, who had once been so sure of the Council's power, now looked hesitant. "What if we cannot defeat them? What if they truly are stronger than we are?" The High Speaker's eyes flashed with anger. "We cannot allow this. The Council must remain in control of the galaxy. If we lose, the balance of power will shift forever. Humanity will become the new rulers, and the galaxy will fall into chaos." The quiet advisor, who had suggested earlier that the Council learn from humanity, spoke up once more. "Perhaps it's not about defeating them. Perhaps it's about understanding them. If we cannot beat them in war, then maybe we should try peace." The High Speaker turned sharply to face him. "Peace? With humans?" The advisor nodded. "They have shown us they are not just warriors. They are survivors. They are builders, innovators, and thinkers. They do not seek to conquer the galaxy, but to protect it, to defend their home." The High Speaker stood up. The idea of peace with humanity had never even crossed his mind, but now, as he looked at his defeated fleet, he began to wonder if there was another way. For the first time, he felt a shift in his thinking. The Council had always sought power, but perhaps true strength lay in unity. Perhaps the galaxy did not need to be ruled by one empire. "I will send a message," the High Speaker said, his voice firm. "We will offer humanity an alliance. If they accept, perhaps this war can finally come to an end." Rachel's decision. On Earth, Rachel watched the news feeds. The Council had retreated again, but this time Something was different. The High Speaker had requested a meeting of peace. Her first instinct was to reject it. The Council had shown time and again that they were ruthless conquerors. But after everything they had been through, after all the battles fought and won, Rachel knew that humanity was stronger than ever. And they had nothing left to prove. "We can't keep fighting forever," she said, turning to her crew. "We've shown the Council what we're made of. But if they're truly offering peace, we should at least listen." Mark, standing at her side, nodded. "It's a risk, but maybe it's time we stopped the fighting." Rachel thought for a moment, her eyes scanning the stars. "I've never been a fan of sitting down with enemies, but I think this might be the right move. We fought hard to defend our people. Now it's time to defend something else, the future." She turned to the communications officer. "Send the message. We'll meet with the Council. But make it clear, we'll accept no terms that compromise our independence." The message was sent, and soon the meeting was arranged. Humanity's leadership would travel to the neutral space station, where the Council's representatives would be waiting. The peace talks. The day of the meeting arrived. A tense atmosphere filled the space station as representatives from both sides gathered. The High Speaker sat at one end of the table, his expression unreadable. Across from him sat Rachel, her posture straight and her gaze steady. "I have seen your strength," the High Speaker began, his voice calm but carrying weight. "And I have seen the cost of war. The Council cannot continue this fight. We offer peace, but only on one condition: an alliance between our peoples." Rachel looked him in the eye. "You want us to join you. But why? After all the fighting, why offer us peace now?" The High Speaker sighed. "Because we cannot defeat you. Your strength, your spirit, humanity is a force we cannot ignore. We want to work with you, not against you. Together, we can protect the galaxy, not destroy it." Rachel paused, considering his words. She had never trusted the Council, and she knew they were still a powerful force. But she also knew that humanity had proven itself capable of surviving, adapting, and thriving. Perhaps this was a new beginning, a chance for the galaxy to grow stronger together. "I accept your offer," Rachel said finally. "But remember, we will never surrender our independence. We fight for our people, and no one will take that from us." The High Speaker nodded, understanding. "We have no intention of controlling you. Together, we will create a future where all races can thrive. No one will dominate. This is not about power. This is about peace. A new era." And so a new era began. The Council and humanity formed an alliance, not through force, but through mutual respect and understanding. Together, they worked to protect the galaxy from those who would threaten it. The High Speaker and Rachel stood together, looking out into the stars. The war was over. The galaxy was at peace, and for the first time in history, humanity was no longer just a small part of the galaxy. They were leaders, allies, and protectors. As the stars shone brightly above them, they knew that this was only the beginning. The future was full of possibilities. Together, humanity and the Council would create a galaxy where peace could flourish.